I'm delighted to be here. It's quite an honor.
We're so happy to have you. And actually, you are also, full disclosure, you are our newest Best NC board member. So I am personally happy to have you.
So I'm learning as much as I can about the educational world.
That's right.
I will also add, I went to public schools in Greensboro, so I owe at least part of my career success to the educational system in this great state of North Carolina.
That's right. And college as well,
yes.
Right? Right. So good perspective to have on the board. And of course, I welcomed you because I think you have such a great, fresh, nuanced perspective on leadership and very practical perspective on leadership. And so I'm excited for you to share some of your thoughts with us today as a group.
Sure.
Quickly, we talked, you just heard the Chuck was awarded the best CEO by the Triangle Business Journal, and both the Triangle Business Journal and North Carolina Business Review noted that it's one of the best places to work.
That's something we're very proud of.
You should be. That's not a small feat. And of course, both a statewide and a local organization recognized you. So tell us a little bit about what it is that makes Coastal one of the best places to work.
Well, we believe employee engagement is vital to success. And we've been using employee engagement to really get feedback from our employees for the last 7 or 8 years. And so our business model starts with, we got to have great employees who are engaged in the business and come to work every day to serve our 230,000 members. If we don't have a great team there, we're not going to be successful. And so we spend a lot of time and energy and money making sure we have the right team in place and we're recruiting the right people. If we're successful at that, they're going to take care of our members. That's right. And if our members are taken care of and they're happy with the service they get, our business results will take care of itself. And it's a loop that is working exceptionally well for us. And we're growing, we're healthy, we're thriving, but it's really about building a great place to work for our employees. What's the Best Places to Work award here in the Triangle, that's done by our employees. Our employees respond to an independent survey organization and answer a series of questions, and we're scored against every other company whose employees participate. So it's our employees saying we're the best places to work.
It's not a popularity contest.
No, it's not.
It was an employee popularity contest. So
yes.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Well, you talked about great talent, and of course, I know firsthand you're surrounded by great talent on your executive team. We're thinking about the principal and who they're surrounded by in their building. Who's on your team?
Yep.
What does it look like?
So, a little context, we have about 475 employees. We have 23 locations from Durham to Rocky Mount, but primarily here in the Triangle. I have 6 senior executives that report to me. 5 are in their 40s, and that's intentional. I'm the old guy in the room, and I'll retire in the next 5 years or so. And so for me, I'm trying to build a team that will sustain the organization for the next 20 years or so. And then I have an amazing executive assistant who manages me, makes sure I show up where I need to be when I'm supposed to be there. Put a little context, my average executive has about 80 employees, and there's some variation in that, and about a $15 million budget. And this is probably, I think, pertinent to the role of principals. My executives own their budget. If they want to move people around, hire fewer of this kind of role, add more of these, if they want to shift spending from particularly one function to another, they have the authority to do it. Now, if they need more money, they have to come to the team and make the case for it. But they control within their divisions how their resources, their human resources and financial resources are spent. And so I think if you're going to hold an executive or a leader accountable for outcomes, they have to have some discretion on the inputs to go into that. And I think that's particularly pertinent to principals and schools who typically are going to have a multi-million-dollar budget and 50 direct reports.
Right, yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, what you described was a large high school, right, in terms of size, both the operating budget and the number of people who report. And I'm looking at the principals who will be on our panel this afternoon and waiting to hear their thoughts on how much autonomy they get within their schools. So
my sense is not much.
Right, and so you make great points there. I asked President Spellings this earlier about being a leader and what it is that compels you to want to. I mean, this is what, 600-ish employees.
Yep.
It's a lot to take on, and you've been a leader for a while. What's your thinking?
Some of you may be familiar with Marcus Buckingham, who wrote the book First Break All the Rules, came out of the Gallup organization, and really helped create this whole notion of employee engagement and connecting that to company results. And so he went out on his own, has his own company, and they have a kind of a profile instrument that my team and I took a couple of months ago. And what I learned, we all try to figure out who we are and what we're good at and not good at during our careers, but it was the first time that I read this paper and said, wow, that hit it on the head. And what I learned from it is I am two things. One is a pioneer. I'm willing to embrace change, try things that others may not consider wise or not. But secondly, and you'll appreciate this, is I'm a teacher. And I teach through experience. The prior speakers, there was some discussion about moving people around. It's how we develop leaders in our organization. And we did a fairly major reorganization about 2 years ago, and my team spent 6 months kind of redesigning the organization. We took a layer of management out. And I did it independently of them. We compared notes. It was about an 80% overlap. And they thought we were done. What they didn't expect is 3 of them ended up in roles different from what they were in at the time. And so, for example, my CFO, if she aspires to be CEO, she has to prove to us that she can run something else out of her comfort zone. Because great leaders aren't the great technicians. They're great at inspiring people and leading people, and particularly in organizing teams. And we're very much a team-driven organization. Every major decision gets vetted with my entire team. We meet every Wednesday, and they meet whether I'm there or not. And they can make decisions if I'm not there or not, provided I have a 48-hour veto window.
Well, that's a great rule of thumb,
yep.
Right? So you're what I'm hearing is you're very intentional, and we talked a little bit about the questions earlier about how are we recruiting principals into the profession, and generally we're not. Johanna mentioned they raise their hand and they go into the profession. What could we learn from the way that you develop your leaders, how you were developed as a leader? I'm guessing that someone along the way pulled you into it.
Back in my 20s, really my first real job out of college, I was a consultant working with credit unions around the state. My boss left the organization, and the CEO of the organization walked in a couple of days later and said, "Do you want his job?" Oh, I've never managed anybody. I don't know how to do that. And he said, "It's yours." And what was amazing, he gave me a ton of autonomy, a lot of coaching, but a ton of autonomy to figure it out. To figure out my style, to figure out how to interact with employees and so forth, and a lot of encouragement. And, that to me, was a huge lesson in not micromanaging, not saying, yeah, you're the leader, but you got to follow these 50 rules.
Right.
And has really stayed with me my entire career, and it's how I tried to lead the folks that work for me. And so training and development's a big part of what we do. Our average employee probably spends over 50, 60 hours a year in various kinds of training programs. We have an online university. A lot of it's self-driven. We encourage our employees to, continually improve their knowledge. And so we do a couple of things to identify future leaders. One is we're looking for folks who go the extra mile. They're the first one to say, I want to be on that project, or take on an assignment of some sort. But we're also looking for folks who have built the network, have the relationships with their peers that we can pride. Not everybody wants to be a manager. And I think that came up earlier. Not every teacher will want to be a principal. A leading students is very different than leading adults. And so it's kind of a push-pull. We push some folks, and I always have my eye out for some of the future stars that I can push to say, go take a chance.
That's great. So, and it was your own personal story, right?
Yeah.
You didn't raise your hand and come into it. Someone actually pulled you and pushed. And as a woman, we lean in, highly recommended. That conversation about women often, when you do ask them to lead, you have to ask multiple times more than when you ask men to lead. So it's a lesson I've learned even, as running an organization with women as well. Is there are you finding any of that to be true? Women leaders, male leaders?
I think women leaders have some hesitancy, and I don't know what to attribute that to. But we have, probably a third of particularly our mid-management ranks, I don't know the exact stats, but probably 50% women. Mm-hmm. And it's from that group that the future executive leadership team is going to come over the next 15 or 20 years. And so, we're pushing them. And many of those are in their 30s.
That's right.
And it's their first real management job, and we give them help. As my Buckingham report said, part of the way I teach is I throw people in the deep end of the pool, hope they can swim, and if they can, I jump in and help them.
Right. That's how it should be. That's great.
But I'm not going to swim for them.
Exactly.